So as we continue on our journey through this Easter season, the season of eternal life and the resurrection, we have probably a familiar but very important image that Jesus gives to us. This image of the vine and the branches. And any horticulturalist would tell you that you need both, to have good fruit. You can't have fruit without a vine, a source of nutrients. And you can't have fruit, too, without branches, to provide a place for that nutrients to bear life. And maybe we've heard this, certainly we've heard this story before, but just because it's maybe familiar to us doesn't mean we can't go deeper in it. And this image is connected with a call from Jesus. And he asks us to remain in him just as branches remain on the vine. And he's pretty serious about this because he mentions it like 7 times within 8 verses. And we celebrated initially the celebration of Easter about 5 weeks ago. A beautiful, life-giving event and celebration. Is it a reality? Is it a celebration that has remained with us throughout these past 5 weeks? Or is it kind of something that's just kind of happened and passed by, whether that's on the calendar or in our hearts? Our call as Christians is to remain in the things that matter most. And I think the question for us today is that it's not if we're going to remain in something, but it's what are we going to remain in. It's not the question of if we're going to have a vine that we're attached to, but what is the vine that we're going to be attached to. What does it really mean to remain? The definition, is the definition of remaining is continuing to exist in something. What does it mean to remain as Jesus is asking us to do? I think it's whatever we really give our attention, whatever we place our security in, and whatever we place our identity in. This kind of shows us how we remain. And so Jesus is inviting us to continue to place our attention, our security, our identity in him. And brothers and sisters, while this is, I think, something that's easy to kind of grasp on a superficial level, to remain in Jesus really is a complete mystery. It's something that's going to take the whole of our lives to really understand. It's going to be something that unfolds in our lives. And I can tell you it's something that I even appreciate much more this week than I even did last week. And this last week I had the opportunity of meeting up with my spiritual director, another priest I talk with about my life and my prayer. And he really challenged me on how I was living. Not necessarily on the outside, but on the inside. And he helped me to see that how much of my time, how much of my thought I spend just thinking about myself. Kind of in a self-absorbed reality rather than really focused on God and his presence and his power and what he's calling me to do. If we're not attached to Jesus on the vine, we're going to be attached on another vine. And the first place I think that we're tempted to remain in a place other than God is ourselves. It's almost like sometimes we have like a perpetual mirror, in front of our face. We're so self-concerned, about our own lives, our own struggles, who's paying attention to us, what we're doing this week, what's the next TV show we're gonna watch and entertain ourselves with. This constant remaining in ourselves, I think we know doesn't ultimately bring life either. It can cause us anxiety and feel a certain emptiness. An emptiness that's not really going to be filled by us. It is Jesus who is the vine, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And if we're not caught up in ourselves, the other temptation is to be caught up in the world. According to Forbes, in 2020, this last year, where we've been dealing with all kinds of things, the global digital consumption has doubled. That through one medium or another, that on an average, people around the world spend about 6.5 hours a day on media. Whether that's entertainment, whether that's social media, or whether that's news media. And then I think in particular to news media, it's not difficult to see that really our remaining in this area, our consumption of all that's going on around the world, whether we have influence on it or not, is really not making us a very happy people. It is troubling, it is concerning. We do live in a fallen world that's challenging, but remaining in it, remaining plugged into it, ends up just leaving us frustrated. It's not really a good way of living a fulfilled life. Brothers and sisters, we can be so caught up in the world that we no longer remain in Jesus. We spend so much time grappling with what's going on that we don't have any more time or energy or desire to grapple with what it really means to remain in Jesus. And it's only the journey of the latter, of remaining in Jesus, that's really going to bring us life. So how do we know that we remain in him? Well, it's not just the externals, our time and our energy, but it's in what do we place our security, our real attention, and our identity. Because the truth is, we're always going to be seeking something to satisfy us, to direct us, to give us life. And Jesus says that it is himself, the one who's the vine of the Father's love, that will be the only reality to give us this peace and life. And as Catholics, we celebrate this reality of remaining in Jesus in a very specific and beautiful way today as we celebrate the Eucharist. The Eucharist is the gift of Jesus remaining in us. It's his desire to be with us, and it's a desire that's a complete gift. And as we come to receive the Eucharist today, some of us for the first time, there's something that's easy to do, and there's something that's not as easy to do. What's easy to do? What's easy to do is to come up the aisle, put out our hands, receive the host, make the sign of the cross, and go back to our pew. What's not so easy to do, that as we have received Christ and his body, his blood, his soul, his divinity, is that we allow him to remain in us as we go forth from here. That the reality that we have received bears fruit within our lives, within our hearts, our minds, and all that we do in our actions. I pray today that Jesus may bestow upon us the gift of even just the desire of remaining in him. That we can see that Jesus deeply wants to be a part of our lives, and it's literally him is that the only thing that we need. No matter what seems to be grabbing our attention, whether it's the world with its problems, whether it's the technology and the entertainment it brings us, or it's just ourselves with kind of the demands of the infinite demands, of our ego. The question is not if we're going to remain on the vine, but what vine are we going to remain on? And as we continue this Easter season, the season of the resurrection, let us remain in him so that we can become his disciples, so that others can see him present and more clearly through us.